You're watching Mirror 7 News. Stay informed, stay ahead for more news.
Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell delivered one of his most closely watched speeches at the annual Jackson Hole Economic Symposium, and the markets responded instantly. His remarks hinted that interest rate cuts are likely coming soon, but Powell made it clear this move is being considered not because of political pressure from President Donald Trump, but because of genuine concerns about the economy, especially the labor market. As soon as his comments hit the wires, Wall Street took off. The Dow surged nearly 900 points at one stage, hitting record highs, while the S&P 500 and Nasdaq also posted their strongest single-day gains in months. Traders saw Powell's language as a green light. The borrowing costs could be lowered as soon as September, which would give both businesses and consumers some relief. So why the change? Powell explained that risks to employment are rising. Job growth has slowed more than expected, and although unemployment rates remain relatively low, the labor market appears to be on shakier ground than the numbers suggest. He warned that if conditions deteriorate, it could happen quickly, through sudden layoffs and higher unemployment. That's the scenario the Fed wants to get ahead of. Powell also acknowledged inflation risks tied to new tariffs. Prices in certain categories of goods are already creeping up, and he admitted those effects are now clearly visible. But he suggested that the inflationary impact of tariffs might be temporary and not enough to outweigh the growing need to protect jobs and stabilize the economy. Another part of his speech focused on the Fed's updated policy framework. Powell admitted that past strategies, particularly around the 2021 inflation surge, left the Fed reacting too slowly. Lessons have been learned, he said, and the new framework gives the central bank more flexibility to respond to both inflation and unemployment. In his words, price stability is essential for a sound and stable economy and supports the well-being of all Americans. Meanwhile, political drama continues to swirl around the central bank. President Trump has been openly critical of Powell and other Fed officials, even threatening to fire a governor if she doesn't resign. The administration has also called for a sweeping overhaul of the institution. Despite this, Powell emphasized the Fed's independence and avoided linking any potential rate cuts to political demands. Bond markets also reacted sharply, with yields falling as investors rush to lock in current rates before cuts take effect. Traders are now pricing in a strong chance, nearly 90%, that the Fed will move on rates in September. This was Powell's final Jackson Hole address as Fed chair before his term expires next spring, and it may prove to be one of his most pivotal. His message was simple but significant. The economy faces risks, the Fed is watching closely, and rate cuts are very likely on the horizon. Stay subscribed for more videos.